Hey YouTube, this is Steve from Average Joe's Fantasy Football, and we are going to talk recap of day one of the NFL draft. There were a lot of offensive players that went in this draft, and of course that is going to always relate to your fantasy world. So we're going to talk obviously dynasty, winners and losers. I'm talking 5 winners and 5 losers from the first round that I think could affect your dynasty rookie drafts, and maybe some redraft conversation as well to help you guys out with this upcoming season. Now, of course, make sure you guys are subscribed to the channel. Make sure you hit the like button. And of course, we'll be putting out even more content this weekend to help you guys with any rookie stuff for your dynasty. So we're going to jump right into the winners. I'm going to make it really simple. The number one winner has to be Caleb Williams. Like Caleb Williams at this point, whether you're in Superflex, redraft, things like that, Caleb Williams is clearly the, I would say, number one winner in this rookie draft. He's going to a situation where he's got DJ Moore, Keenan Allen, now Romo Nduzie, who obviously, is a great pairing. Cole Kmet. You've got a plethora of running backs like Swift and Khalil Herbert. So those are some really good options for Caleb to come into. And not only, we're not even going to talk about the generational talent that is, put onto him. He just has the ability to make plays. He doesn't have to have the most perfect offensive line, which is something the Bears obviously want to improve upon, but he's going to have situations where whether he's in 3 wide, maybe he's got the running game going, he is in a position to have really great success. So as far as obviously rookie drafts go, he is clearly the 101. But if we're talking redraft as well, he's definitely going to have value. He can be easily into the QB 10, QB 12 range when it comes to redraft as well. So he's my number one winner when it came to this draft. Another winner who I again was kind of hesitant about, I still have some worries, but JJ McCarthy came out a winner going to Minnesota. A lot has to do with the weapons that he's going to have. He's going to have Addison, obviously Jay Jetta, a Hawkinson when he comes back, right? So those are some big plays. Aaron Jones in the backfield. They've got a good offensive line. And so for JJ McCarthy, great head coach, this is a position where I think given time can be actually really strong for you. Now, in redraft, I'm holding off on JJ McCarthy. I wouldn't actually go after him this season. Maybe if it's a really deep league, maybe late, maybe a waiver wire pickup we'll talk about later in the season. But as far as dynasty goes, McCarthy, I think, has put himself in a position where he could be a potential 103 or 104 range in your rookie drafts when we're talking Superflex. In one quarterback leagues, obviously, we're talking a lot later, but if we're talking Superflex, he can definitely be that 103, 104 range just because of the position and team he has landed on. So JJ McCarthy definitely falls into that winner category because of where he fell. Another winner I liked, Marvin Harrison Jr. Look, I think we all had expected him to go to Arizona, and I think that was the perfect spot for him. The only other spot I would have felt comfortable him going was going to be the Chargers because of obviously the quarterback play. But falling for Arizona, he's going to be the clear-cut wide receiver 1. They do have Michael Wilson, who I think is a great receiver, and I think he benefits from this. Greg Dortch. You got Trey McBride, and then of course you got Kyler Murray throwing the ball down the field to him. So this is a great position for him. He may not finish as a top 10 receiver this upcoming season, but when it comes to dynasty and future, this Marvin Harrison Jr. is in the perfect spot for himself. Great offense, good receiving core around him, good tight end, and of course, Kyler Murray being his quarterback, I think is going to only help. Marvin Harrison Jr. is an absolute easy win in this first round. Another receiver I want to mention, and it's not going to be a Rome Odunze, it's going to be Brian Thomas Jr. for the Jacksonville Jaguars. I had thought Jacksonville was going to go defense, but them grabbing Brian Thomas Jr. I think makes a lot more sense. You've got a receiver who, again, I would say kind of disrespected because of obviously Malik Neighbors being his other counterpart at LSU, who obviously got a lot of the glory and the shine, which is perfectly fine. Malik Neighbors is a great receiver. Brian Thomas kind of went under the shadow, but he does come into a position where he could be the clear-cut wide receiver 2 behind Christian Kirk, who I think is going to benefit from this. You do have Gabe Davis losing some of quality, but you have Evan Ingram, again, allowing this to be a good offense for Trevor Lawrence. And I think Jacksonville went this route because they wanted to have a receiving core to allow Trevor Lawrence to have the best possible chance to be successful in this team. Look, Brian Thomas, obviously, I think a lot of people would love to have seen him go to Buffalo, and I think that would have been a great position as well because he easily would have gotten a lot more targets. But I still think he's a winner in this one. I still think he's going to get plenty of options and targets his way. This is a very pass-happy offense in general. So I think he's in a good spot. And again, I think he's slowly moving up in my dynasty rankings when it comes to your draft and things like that. We'll revisit that when we go more of a deep dive and obviously what happens for day 2 and 3 when it comes to the NFL draft. But I do like this position for Brian Thomas. Now, my last player that I'm going to mention as a winner is going to be Jaden Daniels for the Washington Commanders. As a Cowboy fan, I personally wanted them to go Drake May. I think Drake May, yes, a polished quarterback, I think was going to be a lot more dangerous where you have Jaden Daniels. Jaden Daniels is going to be a lot more dangerous than Drake May. Jaden Daniels, as far as a fantasy aspect, has the rushing ability, and that's where I think some people have some concerns as a Washington Commander fan. Is he going to run first, pass later, right type of mentality? We'll see how that plays out, but he's in a good option where you've got Terry McLaurin, Dotson, right? You've got him, you got 2 good receivers. You've got Eckler, Brian Thomas. Like, I think this is a good spot for him. Had Jaden Daniels gone to obviously New England, totally different story. I wouldn't even put him as a winner. But in this position for the Commanders, new regime, new offense for him. I do want to see a lot more out of him. I think he's going to have some ups and downs. Again, I'm not expecting him to be a redraft quarterback in this season, but as far as dynasty, his value I think has moved up. I think he's going to easily be in the 103 to 105 range, maybe 106, depending on how your league mates draft. But I do like this one. I think he's a winner in my book in this draft. Now, losers. Again, we're talking 5 players here. My number 1 loser is Brock Bowers. Man, it was such a heart-wrenching thing to see when you saw Brock Bowers go to the Las Vegas Raiders. Not only did he not just hurt his stock, but also hurt Michael Mayer's stock. I get it. Michael Mayer was a second rounder. Maybe the value isn't quite there, but putting a second round pick on a tight end that you expected to probably be the future of that tight end role definitely hurts. Brock Bowers is going into an offense that who knows who's going to be quarterback. You got Aiden O'Connell. You've got Gardner Minshew. Then you've got obviously Devontae Adams, Jacoby Myers. You still have Michael Mayer in that tight end room as well. You got Zamir White. Where does Brock Bowers really fall into this? Now, Brock Bowers is a talented tight end. He still should be drafted, I would say, super late now in your first round. I think he could have fallen within this 106 to 108 range. I think he's fallen now closer to the end of the first, maybe possibly the early second round when it comes to your rookie, unless we're talking premium tight end, and that's a whole different scoring system. But for me, I think Brock Bowers landing in the Raiders was the worst possible position. I think he's my number 1 loser. Another loser is Drake May. Look, he may turn out to be the savior for the Patriots after obviously Tom Brady and the whole Mac Jones situation. But I'm still hesitant. I'm not sold on Drake May. I think there's definitely some game that I saw. I just kind of worry. And on top of that, there's nothing he did wrong. But going to New England, your number 1 receiver is Kendrick Bourne. You got Demario Douglas. You don't have any super great receiving options in this team to really have any type of elevation for Drake May. Now, there's rumors and talks of maybe Drake May comes there, he sits behind Jacoby Brissett, and maybe something happens later on. And that could be. And maybe at that point, the Patriots get a better receiver in 2025, and now we're talking a whole different situation. But as of right now, if I'm doing a rookie draft in the moment, I am not putting Drake May anywhere in my top half of my rookie draft, maybe toward the back end, just because of draft capital. But if I've got the 102, 103, 104, 105, unless I'm desperate at quarterback, I would rather grab another position or grab Jaden Daniels or, of course, grab Caleb Williams, maybe J.J. McCarthy before I would get Drake May. And that's crazy to me because I do like Drake May above J.J. McCarthy, but the landing spot matters. And for me, the landing spot for Drake May just was not it for me, and he is a loser in my book. Now, Malik Neighbors, I do have him in the loser aspect because of the situation he's in, but I'm still going to draft him. Now, he may fall maybe a few spots in your rookie draft because a lot of people are hesitant of him going to the Giants, having Daniel Jones, maybe Drew Lock as their quarterback, and there's a lot of worries there. Now, I do expect Neighbors to have a pretty successful rookie season, barring injuries and things like that. whether they have Drew Lock or Daniel Jones at quarterback, because I think he's going to get force-fed plenty of options and targets his way. And Neighbors is such a talented and athletic player that I think he can still kind of overcome some of the quarterback play. I don't know quite extent of, like, say, Justin Jefferson, but Neighbors has a very talented receiving tree, route tree. He can go up and get the ball, great hands, great speed. Like, he's got that type of talent that I think he can elevate Daniel Jones and, or, again, Drew Lock. Now, the reason why I still think he's a loser is just because this year, if we're talking also redraft, his value isn't quite as high. He's not in a position where he went to, say, the Chargers, right? Which I think a lot of people wanted him to go to. But I still think this is going to be someone that I'm going to go in my dynasty drafts. I'm still going to go grab him and put him on my team because I think his value and his talent will absolutely overcome maybe a year or two later, but he's still going to overcome that situation. Another loser is going to be another receiver. I'm talking Ricky Pearsall. Look, Pearsall I thought was a stretch going into the first round. I was kind of surprised that San Francisco moved up to grab him, but it does say that at this point, San Francisco's moving on from either Ayuk or Deebo Samuel, because getting him at the first round spot tells me that they believe in Ricky enough that he's going to be a valuable asset to this team. Now, if he does not, if none of those receivers get traded, then Ricky's essentially his role is going to be diminished and his value absolutely just drops. I never saw Ricky Pearsall being a first round pick in my dynasty drafts. I still don't believe him as my first round. I mean, there's other players I would rather see, and there's a lot that are still not been drafted, so we'll see what happens on day 2. But I think he's a loser because of the situation. I think he was drafted too early. This offense has so many weapons that they don't need him to be a star or get force-fed plenty of targets. So he is definitely, for me, a loser in this situation. And the last player I'm going to mention is Michael Penix Jr. Now, I'm a big believer in Michael Penix Jr., and I do think Michael Penix has value in Dynasty, and I think he is going to end up being one of the better quarterbacks in this draft. That's just something I see from the game film and things like that. Now, I kind of worry a little bit because now you're landing in a team spot where you just now got to Atlanta and the 8th spot where they just signed a veteran, an aging veteran, but in Kirk Cousins. That is such a questionable, everyone worried, like, what is going on? And that was probably the biggest shock in this draft. But I will say this. Redraft, no value. Dynasty, no value for a few years. Now, Kirk Cousins got a 2-year contract, at least guaranteed, and he's got a 4-year contract signed with Atlanta. 2 years for sure, unless something crazy happens, Penix will not have any value in Dynasty. He is going to be somebody you have to understand that if you're drafting him, he is going to sit on your taxi squad for the next 2 years and just wait. This could be that or Aaron Rodgers, Jordan Love situation. But we'll see. Penix is an aging quarterback, and what I mean by aging, he's coming into the league at 24. A little bit older than you would like. He does have some injury concerns. That's kind of been the knock on him so far, coming out of college into the NFL. But I think his talent's there. I think he can read defenses really well. He showed up really well for Washington last season and, of course, going into the national championship. So I'm still a big believer in Penix. Am I taking him in the first round of my rookie drafts? No. Maybe if I'm really desperate at quarterback and I need somebody, maybe. But even then, I'm taking him in the first round. You know you're not going to play him for a couple years in your roster. But I'm still going to put a second to third round, grab him, knowing he's going to sit there in a situation where I think he can succeed, learning from Kirk Cousins. I'm not worried about Kirk Cousins. I know there was rumors and things out there where he was kind of surprised. I think like everyone, like wow, well, what just happened? But I'm not worried about Kirk Cousins. I think Kirk Cousins is a veteran. He's a very professional quarterback that I think in general is going to take the young man under his wing, is going to help Michael Penix kind of transition to the NFL and become a pro. And that's what I do like about Kirk Cousins. He will do that. He's that kind of guy. But Michael Penix, unfortunately, is a loser when it came to this. Had he gone to, like, say, Denver, I think he could have squeaked into that winner aspect. I don't love the weapons, per se, in Denver, but I think he would have had a better position. So, for me, he is a loser, unfortunately, in this situation. So, those are my day one kind of quick recap of the draft of 5 winners and losers when it comes to your fantasy, dynasty, or redraft. Obviously, we're going to talk a lot more for day 2. We're going to talk day 3. And, of course, I will be doing some updates throughout early next week to talk about rankings and things like that. And of course, make sure you guys are staying tuned. Make sure you guys are subscribed. Make sure you guys hit the like button. And of course, I'll see you guys. Next time.